Welcome to Shani Makes. Here's another tutorial for making Mondays. Today I'm going to show you how to make a simple surgical style 3 pleats face mask. This style is made of 2 layers of fabric. The top edge is finished using a French seam and bounded edges. A nose bar is inserted to make it more fitted. First download this pattern. It has 3 sizes for you to choose from. There's instructions to show you how to cut out the bound edge pattern. I have chosen to use this cotton print. No mask is complete without matching elastic. This is soft corded elastic made from woolly nylon. Here's a thin strip of aluminium. If you can't get your hands on this, you can always reuse one from an old face mask. This is a folding template. It's really great to use one of these for repetitive work, especially if you're going to iron a lot of folds. Before starting any sewing project, you should always wash your materials. This includes interfacing. If you don't want to wash it, you could always soak it and make sure it's dry before using. If you find your fabric slightly on the thin side, you could always back it with a bit of interfacing. Here I'm using some lightweight interfacing. Place the fabric with the wrong side up. Just in case you don't know, interfacing also have a grain, just like fabric. Lay the interfacing grain and the fabric grain in the same direction. Place the interfacing with the dotted glue side touching the wrong side of the fabric. Press it with a hot iron to bond them together. Some people use a damp cloth, but I don't really bother. You will know the interfacing is bonded when it is fully stuck down to the fabric. Fold the fabric so the selvage meets up on the side. You should have a folded edge at the bottom of the fabric. Get a ruler and measure the length of the fabric. If you cut it now, you will waste a lot of fabric, so shift the fabric down and double check. By placing the selvages together, your fabric will be on grain. Give it a press with an iron to set in the crease. Now measure the width in 2 places, once at the bottom and once at the top. This will ensure the pattern is straight. Here is a little tip for you. If you are using chalk or chalk pencil, draw your markings on a soft surface such as foam or an ironing board. It makes it much easier to draw the markings. Then join it up with a line. Now measure the length. Make sure you do this in 2 places so that the measurement is accurate. Then join it with a line. Now is the best time to cut out your binding pattern. Feel your fabric and see whether you prefer it with the interfacing backing or just plain. I prefer the plain. Some fabrics it might be a bit more bulkier if you have the interfacing. Also double check the print on your fabric, making sure it's going the same direction as the rest of the mask. Folding the fabric over and making it 4 cm wide, making sure the top and the bottom is the same width, so your pattern is on grain. Making sure all the creases and seam allowance is folded away. Now match the template on the fabric. You need to cut a little bit more than 1 cm from the top and the bottom, so that the binding pattern is a lot longer than you need. Give it a little press, then cut it out. Leave the bottom folded edge alone. On the raw edge, sew 5 mm seam allowance. Backstitch the beginning, backstitch the end. We're going to press the seam to one side. When pressing, try to avoid the top edge. Turn the fabric over so it's the wrong side out. Make sure the sewed seam is right on the edge. You're going to press this down once more. Now you are going to sew 1 cm seam allowance. Backstitch the beginning, and backstitch the end. Now the French seam is completed. Turn the fabric the right side out. The channel you have created, you're going to put in the nose bar. I am going to press this once more to make sure the seam is on the edge. Double check the nose bar is in the centre. We're going to sew the two ends to secure it in place. I am going to double check it by folding the two edges down and checking the level where the thumb is. Remember to backstitch the beginning and the end to secure, and repeat on the other side. We're going to use the template now to fold the pleats. Ignore the top bit, that's the French seam we've just sewn. Secure the folded edge to the template using clips or pins. Using a metal ruler really helps, otherwise find a straight edge piece of cardboard. Be careful, the ruler can get really hot. Do not use a plastic ruler, it will distort with the heat. Once it's cooled, you can remove all the template and clips. Give it a press to set in the pleats. Now prepare the binding pattern. Fold it in half to give it a crease, then fold the edges into the middle, then iron. Fold it in half again. This is the width of your bound edge. If you think the pattern is slightly too thin for your elastic, you could always cut a wider piece of fabric or press the seam allowance slightly thinner so you have a wider bound edge. We are going to secure both ends of the pleats before we attach the binding fabric. This is important. The front of your face mask has the pleats folding downwards. Place the binding fabric with the right side touching the right side of the mask. Sew down the crease. Trim off any fraying raw edges. You can now trim off the edges down to 1 centimeter. I am just going to eyeball this. Here's another tip. To eliminate any bulk, trim off the corners of the binding pattern. Some people fold it this way. There's nothing wrong with this method, but I prefer folding it my way. So what I do is I open it out, fold it down, then over and over. I find it less likely for my tool to get caught when threading the elastic. If you find a bit of stubborn fabric sticking out, you can always poke it in using tweezers. Repeat on the other side. With the right side of the face mask facing up, you are going to sew on the binding fabric. you're going to sew a top stitch right next to the seam line. Remember to backstitch the beginning and the end. This way you are going to catch the other side of the binding fabric. Repeat on the other side. I know a lot of people like to sew over their pins. This is only safe to sew over if the pin is put in 90 degrees against the seam line. Most times I do remove my pins when I'm sewing. If you don't do this, you will risk breaking a needle or a pin and have an accident. Also, by sewing over your pins, your stitches will become weak because the stitches will be irregular lengths. Now trim off any excess threads. Now prepare your elastic. Cut it to the length required. Just quick seal the edges with a flame. This will stop the elastic from unravelling. You can use a hair grip or a bobby pin for this. Make sure you use a small or a medium sized one. I only got this big huge one, so it's going to get a little stuck inside. It is wise to squeeze the ends down a bit. Do take note, the thicker your elastic, the fatter your knots are, so you might have a bit of trouble pulling it or hiding it inside the binding. Alternatively, I like to use the ruler loop turner for this job. So there you have it. I hope you give this pattern a try. It's the most simplest one to make out of all my patterns. Here is another way to thread the elastic into your face mask. You can always take the strain off the ears by threading the elastic so that it sits behind the neck and the head. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe or follow for more from me at Shani Makes. Here's a little gift for you. Download this envelope and you can keep all your patterns organised. See you next time.